Alright, we are back with another Pokemon Draft League, and this time in Ubers. So, basically, right, in this league, some broken mons like Mewtwo and even Eternatus are allowed, but you may only have up to one or two of them depending on what the Uber specific tiers allowed. So, you can't have like an S tier Uber and another Uber because, it's more broken than the other Ubers, yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Of course, the Ubers still cost points like all the other mons. And yeah, let's get into it. So, I had the second overall pick in the draft, so it would be very unlikely that I could get sniped. And I pretty much had the option to pick whatever I wanted. So you can see on the screen what I picked, and you might be wondering why I picked Dragapult. Like, of course, in standard draft, sometimes it is banned, but when it's not banned, it is usually considered the best Pokemon in draft, in contention with possibly Iron Valiant. But this ain't no normal Dragapult, you see. This is Terra Dragapult. So, if you're wondering why that is such a big thing, Dragapult's main downside is that it has no good physical Ghost Stab, not even Shadow Claw, so it will have to be using its worst 100 special attack and Shadow Ball in order to get Ghost Tap damage. But now, obviously with Terra Ghost Terra Blast, we can put it all into attack and compare it and put that with its phenomenal 142 speed, which is faster than pretty much everything, even Ubers. This Pokemon becomes a terrifying threat. Now, of course, with Terra Blast, it not only it gets ghost moves, but it also gets further damage bonus because it is Terra'd, and with a choice band, I'm gonna be honest, there's pretty much no resist to this. Even like dark types aren't taking this, and the only problem could potentially be normal types, but one, there are not that many of them, and two, later down the line we do draft a fighting type in order to keep them in check. So yeah, that's it, and that's our explanation for why we picked Terra Dragapult. And yeah, for our next round pick we had to wait like 20 months to go, so obviously most of the good Ubers have been taken by this point, but I was surprised that this one was still able to make it to me because that mon is Kyurem White. Now Kyurem White, if you just look at the stats, it immediately becomes clear why it's so good. 170 base special attack. What more do I need to say? It's also not having 170 special attack is even better than 170 physical attack in some respects because it can get intimidated and also lowered by other means, and it just hits incredibly hard. Now Ice Dragon is great offensive coverage, ice, terrible defensive typing, but incredible offensively. Now the defensive typing could be a bit of a problem here because it is weak to rocks and many common draft types, and both of its stabs are resisted by steel, but we do have both earth power and fusion flare to be able to knock them out, so it's not that big of a deal. Now it is pretty bulky, more bulky than you would expect, with 125 HP, 90 defense and 100 speed def, but of course its 95 speed isn't the greatest, so often you would like to run the choice scarf on it, so I'd often probably be having to choose between the choice scarf or heavy duty boots so we don't take damage from rocks. But luckily we do have a form of hazard removal that I will get to later down the line in the draft. So as we had the second pick overall, we pretty much have the wheel pick. Now there is one person who, the first person who got the pick, obviously they have the wheel pick, but since we only have to wait for them, we can pretty much pick 2 Pokemon at once, which is great because you're less likely to get sniped, and if you do, you're able to build your team better around it. And trust me, we got sniped a lot later down the line, so that was really helpful. So of Dragapult, its main problem right now is that it can't hit normal types, right? And Sucker Punch or just dark types in general aren't great for it. But our next pick in Zamazenta Crowned fixes all those problems. Now, is Zamazenta Crowned the best Ubers? No, there's a reason why it was in the C tier, right? But still, it's another Ubers on the team. It's a great fighting type, and also I didn't expect this to happen, but I did get snapped of Sneasler, so it just was objectively the best fighting type left on the board at the time, because Great Tusk was also gone. And yeah, it's just also, as its name suggests, it has the whole shield dog thingy holding. Even it does have to hold the mandatory rusted shield. Its defenses are phenomenal, and with body press it can use its defensive stats as actually offensively, so that's also very nice. We won't need to run too much offensive investment and be able to run this bulky while still being able to dish out a huge amount of damage. One more great thing is that, as well as having great all-around stats, it has good speed in great speed in 128. Now with Dragapult to 142, there are not many Pokemon that outspeed like both of these Pokemon. So, and sometimes maybe both of them will even outspeed the whole team, and their top speed will be 125 or something like that. And yeah, that's definitely something to consider. So for our next pick, we did have to wait a while again, obviously, but I think I'm pretty happy with our next pick in Meowscarada. Now, this Pokemon does give us a very useful dark type, which is again really supports our Dragapult. As offensive as our team might be right now, it's still all supporting this Terra Dragapult, just to be able to let it go absolutely crazy and hit crazy Terra Ghost, Terra Blast into their opposing team, and them not being able to do anything about it. Now, it has great 123 speed as well. Now, in Ubers, it's probably not as valuable as in regular draft, because 123 would probably be elite speed in normal draft, but of course many of the Ubers are faster than that, but it's not that bad. It's still outspeeding the majority of the Mons, and it gets, with access to both spikes and toxic spikes, it can be a really good hazard setter. With U-turn, it can keep up momentum, especially with Dragapult, and the Grass Stab is really useful against those bulky waters that might try and check Kyurem, but we do also have Freeze Dry in case of those situations if we are able to fit it. Now after that, as our Mon that we decided to take with Meowscarada, we obviously, before this, I got sniped of many good Mons that I wanted on my team, but this is an interesting one in Glimmora. Now, I personally don't think that this Mon is phenomenal. I may have called it fraudulent before, but here, with its phenomenal toxic spikes, the toxic debris that set up toxic spikes, just by receiving a contact move, we can set up toxic spikes on their team, which is incredible, right? We can just often lead this with a focus sash, tank a move, get up stealth rocks or even spikes, or do even more damage to them with spiky shield. and just force so much progress without even having to use any moves on this Pokemon. Now with Mortal Spin, it also gives us a form of hazard removal, and you could potentially run Corrosion to hit Steel taps with Mortal Spin and be able to better get those hazards off the field, but honestly I'd probably just be using Toxic Debris most of the time, and we still can't discount its incredible 130 special attack, and with like power of Meteor Beam sets or even the Surprise Scarf. So now we have to wait another like 20 long picks for it to next get to us, and it is becoming very apparent that I do not have much defense. Now of course we do have Zamazenta Crown, but that's pretty much all we have right now. Like Dragapult, Kyurem White, Meowscarada, Glimmora all do not want to take hits. So for our next pick we decided to draft Skarmory. Now Sturdy is another great ability in Ubers because there will be a lot of times if they have a crazy setup threat or they just have a crazy strong Uber that I do not switch into well, Sturdy can really bail us out, and with Whirlwind we'll be able to get them out and switch them into a potentially more manageable threat. Now with it also gives us a third spike setter, which is really useful. You know, it will also free up Meowscarada to be more offensive. And yeah, it has great defense, 140 obviously, as well as Zamazenta. Its Spadef isn't as great, but I'll probably be quite often investing into it, and hey, invested Spadef Skarmory can still take a lot of hits as well. And Body Press, as we already saw on Zamazenta, you know, with Iron Defense, it can actually start doing some damage off its using its defense stats. Though 80 isn't too bad considering, you know, it's a defensive mon. Of course, maybe like items like Rocky Helmet or Heavy Duty Boots would be ideal on this mon, not to break it sturdy. So as we had a mostly wheel pick here, next to pair with this we decided to draft Keldeo. Now this gives us another great fighting type, a really strong attacker with 129 special attack, a water type, though it's not incredibly bulky, which I might have wanted it, but I mainly one of the reasons that I did decide to pick it is just because in my opinion it looked like it was really good value, right? For 12 points, being able to get a mon with great speed, phenomenal special attack, and still all around pretty good defenses overall, I think that for 12 points that this was a steal. And you know, I could get a bit cheeky and even use some assault vest sets, you know, or just go with like choice scarf, choice specs, just to abuse those stabs and the crazy amount of damage that this mon can do. Of course, with flip turn it also carries momentum. Secret sword can hit their defense rather than special defense, which is a very cool thing that this Pokemon can do. And of course, like Hydro Pump and Surf are great overall damage options. And yeah, this is Keldeo, and so far, you know, obviously because of all these mons being so expensive, like 29 points, 25, 22, and then like 17, Glimmora, Skarmory, and Keldeo weren't exactly cheap. We did not have many points, but and yeah, I had to wait all the way like another 20 picks for it to get back to me. But this is when I saw something absolutely insane left on the board, okay? I would argue that this could be the steal of the draft because we got round 8 Ditto. Now for those who don't know, with Ditto's imposter ability, it can turn into the opposing Pokemon. Now in regular draft that'll be like, okay, you're getting one of their great offensive threats, but you're still using your mediocre HP. But the thing about Ubers is, right, say they have like an S tier incredibly powerful Uber, and what if I just took that Uber and used it, because Ditto can become one of the opposing Uber Pokemon. And hey, now with Dragapult, Kyurem White, Zamazenta, we can have the equivalent of 4 Ubers on one team, which is just absolutely insane. Now, I do know that there are some weird mechanics with Ditto, for example, it not transforming on the Terra Ogerpon forms, or when it not being able to copy Quark Drive or Photosynthesis for some reason. But I still overall think it's a great mon and an absolute steal for this point in the draft. And you'd often want to be running Choice Scarf just so you'll be able to revenge them if they are set up. But you know, I could do some interesting things. Focus Sash. I even saw a red card Ditto once, which they both Pokemon tried to set up, and then Ditto sent them out of there, so now they just lost their sweeper and they had like a +6 special attack Dittos staring them right in the face, transformed as something else. So that could be something very funny that I could do. And yeah, to combine with this, we were running low on points, but I think I was still able to get something pretty decent in Uxie. Now, originally I was hoping to get Mesprit because of Healing Wish support, as well as, you know, just useful utility in general, but Uxie can still offer much of that. It has Stealth Rocks, it's a good fighting resist that I did kind of need on the team at the moment, I'm gonna be honest. And yeah, also an immunity to ground is never a bad thing to have. Now with Stealth Rocks, also being able to keep up momentum with U-turn is very useful, because you know, this team often wants to grab the momentum and don't let the opposing team to defend against our offensive threats. And if we're able to get in a position where we're able to bring our offensive, like Scarf Kyurem White example, against a Pokemon that can't really check it, we can potentially just do massive damage and blow a hole through their team with incredibly breaking power. And yeah, it also has a Baton Pass as a secondary switching option. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure why I would ever run that over U-turn, but perhaps there may be some times that I might have to use that. Of course, with Trick, Thunder Wave, just good utility in general. Memento, both screens, knockoff. It's just a very good mon for 8 points that I think was left on the board. So at this point in the draft, right, I had 2 points left, and I noticed a big flaw in my team. I have no ground type and no mon that can switch into electric type moves, so that was not a great thing. But for our last 2 points, we did decide to bring Trapinch. Now Trapinch has the broken arena trap ability, which can trap them on the field, you know. It's incredibly broken, but also these stats are not great to say the least. Now with now with 100 base attack and say banded first impression, it can still do some very cool things. And you know, if it's able to KO an Uber with that, it would just be like there are many psychic type Ubers, and if I'm able to KO one of them through this way, that would be utterly hilarious. But I don't see myself bringing it to too many games, but hopefully at least one. Let's just say that. And yeah, that is going to be our team for the Violet Division Ubers for the PDA. I'm very interested to see how the season will go, especially with an incredibly offensive team. With this, like this, obviously there are some quite notable flaws, you know, not having a good ground type, just having Trapinch instead, and in fact not even having a fairy type at all could be a bit of a problem. But and obviously the defense isn't the strong point of this team. We're pretty much just relying on Yuxi, Skarmory and Zamazenta to be able to do that, with the rest of the threats being quite frail and offensive. But you know, at the same time, those mons are terrifying, man. The offensive pressure on this team is incredibly insane. So let's just see. Will I be able to pilot this team well, or will I utterly fail and not make the right choices? Who knows? But yeah, that's gonna be our team, and I'm very excited to see how things will go. Now, of course, thank you to anyone who's watched the video to this far, and just here to say that I really appreciate it. And yeah, you know, while you're at it, may as well like and subscribe, right? That's what all YouTubers say, no? Alright, and yeah, that's gonna be it. Bye.